Hey Knights, so I've been requested to do a William T. Spears and Reader, uh, Lemon. So, William's not really one of my favorites. He's actually the least favorite Grim Reaper in my opinion from Black Butler. But it was a request, and I shall read a William and Reader, Lemon, Smut, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so, Reader's point of view. Nix, Ronald, I hear a loud voice ring through my room. I flinch along with my best friend Ronald. Uh-oh. Grow woke up, I said as I hold on to Ronald's arm. He may go easy on you since you're a human, but me, I'm screwed. Hopefully not in the real sense of the word. I'd rather just get hit by the chainsaw. Ronald shivered. Come on, Nix, we gotta hide. He pulled me by my arm and down the hallway of the offices. Ronald, I'm not even supposed to be here. William will kill us, most likely me more than you, I yell as Ronald drags me along with him. Nah, William won't do such a thing. Come on, Ronald busted through the doors to the library. I have a bad feeling about being in here, I thought as we made our way towards the various aisles of cinematic records. I began to whisper to Ronald, I really don't think I'm supposed to be. Why did you bring a human to our realm again, Ronald? A calm voice rang out through the library. I froze in my tracks, causing Ronald to jerk to a stop. Standing beside me now was the one Reaper who hated my very existence. The Reaper who glares emotionlessly at me as he takes in the scene before him. Ronald holding a human's hand in the library of cinematic records in the Reaper world. The very Reaper that I have been drawn to since the day he first glared at me and told me to leave. Something is wrong with my choice in men. I'm Eve! I started to stammer out an apology, but William's cold glare made me jump and remain silent as he pushed his glasses back up. Sorry, William, I had some off time, so I went to visit Nix, and we played a joke on Grow, and then we've been hiding from him since. And Ronald was explaining when suddenly a loud voice shouted, I found you, you disgraceful assholes! Oh, Will, darling, look at what they did to my beautiful hair! Grow ran to glump William, but he dodged him by moving quickly to the side. I narrowed my eyes at Grow as he holds onto William's leg and cries. I huff and cross my arm. Ronald looks over at me and smirks. He's the only one who knows how I feel about William. William pries Girl off of his leg and looks at him. He takes in the no longer red hair. Instead, it was a bright blue. William's eyes widen a fraction. Then he looks up at Ronald with an annoyed expression. Ronald got frightened and blurted, It was Nix's idea. He yelled and hid behind me. My eyes widen as William slides his cold gaze to my face. I flinch as I remember still hoping that William wouldn't do something too bad at me. Nix, William spoke calmly. Go to my office and wait for me there. He turned to Grow. Grow, go home. Same for you, Ronald. He walked out of the library, leaving me stunned and Ronald pale. Grow huffed angrily and stomped up to me. Before I could react, he pulled his arm back and slapped me across the face, knocking me to the ground. Ronald held back Growl as he yelled profanities at me and insulted me. I just sat there on the ground, my hand over my cheek as it stung. I watched silently as Ronald dragged me out of the library. I continued to sit there for a minute longer. Then I rose to my feet and wandered out of the library in search of William's office. After another 5 minutes of wandering, I found it and knocked first. William's point of view. When I got to my office, Nix was nowhere to be seen. Cats, no, stop! You changed the page, silly. I slid my glasses back up my nose and let out a sigh. Nix isn't here. What kind of lecture shall I give her? I sat at my desk and began working on my paperwork. A few minutes later, I hear a small knock at my office door. Come in, I speak out. The door opens to reveal a saddened-looking Nix. I looked at her as she stands before my desk. What is that? I ask as I gaze at her face. She looks at me in confusion as I continue to stare at her. What's what? She asked me. I stood up and walked from behind my desk and stood in front of her. I lifted her up by her chin so that I could see her face clearer. Your cheek is red. I remove my hand from her chin as she covers her cheek. I see the other side of her face turn a pinkish color. Oh, it's nothing. Nix turned her head away from me. I stare at her for a little bit, then I move away and sit back at my desk and begin working again. You may have a seat. I must finish some reports before I give you your punishment, I say plainly. Yes, sir, she stammered out. I smirked slightly at her reaction as I went on with my paperwork. Excuse me, William, Nix whispered as she sat across from me. I glanced up and paused, signing my name on a document. Yes, Nix? She fidgeted and looked down. Why do you seem to dislike everyone, and what did I do to make you hate me so much? I flinched at her choice of words, but I quickly regained my composure. I dislike socializing in general, really. I paused, choosing my words carefully. Nix, I don't hate you at all. I began cleaning up my desk. What do you mean you don't hate me? Every time I've ever seen you, you glare at me and say hateful things. She starts, but I cut her off. Hateful like what? I asked, watching her face. She puffs her cheeks in irritation. Ronald, why do you have a human in our realm? Humans have no business being in our presence. She finished imitating me and glared at me as I stood up and walked to her side. I say that because they're the rules. I don't hate you at all. Actually, No, never mind. I stop and I feel my face heat up. She stood up and got in my space, glaring up at me. Say what you're going to say, William. I looked down at her, taking in her silver locks, her violet eyes, and pale skin. She's absolutely beautiful. I gazed at her, and I could feel my face heating a little as I gathered the courage to speak. I'm in love with you, Nix. I know I seem so cold, but it's just so hard for me to show any emotions. But I stopped, trying to think. Ew! Gross! You just got your cat snot all over my iPad. Awesome, cat. Ew. Gross. Uh, what? What? um, I'm in love with you, Nix. I seem so cold, but it's just so hard for me to show any emotions. But I stopped, trying to think of what I should say. I was jealous that you are always around, Ronald. I wanted you with me. That is why I told you to come to my office. You love me? She asked in astonishment. I gazed at her, just debating in my mind if I should say it again or something else. Nix, I whisper, my voice deeper than normal, and my body acted on its own. I wrapped my arms around her waist and pulled her close. My other hand cupped her neck, and I turned her so that I could look into her eyes. I leaned close to her. I glanced down to her lips, and then I connected our lips. My eyes closed instinctively as my lips remained against hers softly. Reader's point of view. I stood there against William in shock as he kissed me. Without any thought, my body responded on its own. I slid my arms up around his neck, pulling him closer as I kissed him back. His hand around my waist moved so that it was at the small of my back, pulling me so I was flush against him as the other slid down my neck, making me shiver. His hand held my shoulder tightly as he walked me backwards. I trusted William not to let me fall as I walked back blindly. I was backed against the wall as he ran his hand down my side, stopping at the bend of my knees as he lifted my leg up around his waist. His tongue brushed against my lower lip as my hands wound into his hair. I opened my mouth slightly, and his tongue darted into my mouth. As we kissed, I moaned lightly as his tongue searched my mouth. I tugged lightly at his hair, causing him to groan into my mouth. As William pulled back, I sucked on his tongue. He groaned and then pressed his growing erection against my womanhood. I moaned out and then pushed him backwards until he was sitting on his desk. I stood in between his legs and began loosening his tie and shirt. My eyes slid over his toned body as he gazed at me. Don't stare too much, Nix. He removed his glasses and grabbed the hem of my black shirt and lifted it off, revealing my red lace bra. I blushed lightly as he pulled me into his arms again. You know, you never told me what happened to your cheek. That was really weird, Cat. You're so funny, kitty. Oh. Yeah, got my cat. You're funny. Let's see. You know, you never told me what happened to your cheek. He stroked my cheek that was once red. Grouse slapped me after you left. I trailed off. William looked at me, and then he kissed my cheek over and over, moving lower to my neck. I moaned when he reached the hollow of my throat and He smirked against my neck, and then trailed his tongue up and down that spot and nibbled occasionally as I moaned out his name. I love hearing you say my name, Nix, William murmured as his hand moved to my bra and he quickly removed it. I move my arms to cover myself, and he catches me. Don't hide from me anymore. I want you, William mumbled out huskily. He picked me up and then turned us both. I hear a loud commotion behind me, and I was laid onto a clean desk. I gasped as he continued kissing my neck and going down to my chest as he began kissing lightly around my nipples, and then he took my left mouth into his mouth, sucking and swirling his tongue around it. I moaned out as he began to massage my other breast and twist the nipple. He switched, giving the same treatment as his free hand slid down my stomach to the top of my jeans. My cheeks flamed as he reached my breast and kissed and licked down my stomach. He placed sweet kisses on my hip bones, and then he looked up at me as he undid the buttons of my jeans. He slid my pants off slowly as I squirmed to speed the process up. Impatient, my dear Nix, William chuckled as he tossed my jeans to the side. His hands trailed slowly up my thighs. William, please, stop teasing me, I moaned out as his hand grazed over my clothed heat. He pressed his lips against my lower stomach as his fingers hooked under the hem of my panties. He deftly removed them, and then his hand softly rubbed against my clit as he kissed lower and lower. I propped myself up on my elbows as I watched him shower my hips and thighs with sweet kisses. He stopped right at the apex of my heat, his green and yellow orbs meeting my violet orbs. His lips curved into a smirk as he leaned down, his tongue slowly dragging up my wet pussy. I moaned loudly as he continued to gaze at me and lick me. I couldn't take it anymore and bucked my hips against him. His arms wrapped around my hips and held me still as he began to speed up. I threw my head back as I felt my stomach tightening. My body began to shake with the beginning waves of an orgasm. Before I could fully release, he pulled back and then pressed his lips against mine, silencing my protest before I could get it out. His tongue darted into my mouth, allowing me to taste myself. He released me, and then I slid onto my knees and undid his belt. I quickly removed his dress pants. I rubbed his shaft through his boxers. Before he could begin complaining, I removed his boxers and took the tip into my mouth, swirling my tongue around it before sucking hard and taking more of him into my mouth. His hand gripped my silver hair and pushed me further down. I gladly complied and sucked harder and faster. I moaned as I did so. Oh, fuck, Nix, he groaned out as he felt the vibrations from my moaning against his dick. I felt him twitch slightly in my mouth, and I tasted a small amount of his pre-cum. I stopped sucking and released him with a pop. I stood up and pressed my lips against him. William pushed me back onto the desk. He leaned over me and kissed me full of heat, love, and passion. I moaned into the kiss as I could feel the tip at my entrance. He slowly began pushing it in. I gasped in pain. He stilled himself in me, only halfway in. William kissed my stray tears and pressed his lips against my neck. Soon after, he began pressing into me again, stretching me. Oh, William, you're so big. You feel so good inside of me, I moaned out as he began thrusting inside of me. His lips pressed against mine as I moaned loudly, his hands gripping my hips as he slammed into me. William kissed my neck as he lifted my left leg up onto his shoulder as he bit down on my shoulder. I cried out in pleasurable pain as he pushed me over the edge. He then flipped me so that I was standing and bent over the desk. He ran his hand up and down my back, and then he smacked my ass. I yelped in response, and then he slammed his whole length into my sensitive pussy. I cried out again, and then he began pounding me into his desk, the force behind his thrust causing the desk to shake and move some. His hands gripping my thighs as he leaned forward, his chest against my back as he pounded me relentlessly. William, I cried out as I felt another orgasm coming. He felt my walls clutching, his huge member inside of me as he sped up, desperately trying to give me immense pleasure. Nix, William grunted my name as he pounded me. I screamed out as I came hard, my body quaking from my orgasm. He groaned my name one last time as he thrusted and filled me with his hot seed. He pulled out of me and pulled me against him, his arms securing me close to him, his lips pressing against my neck as he trailed kisses up to my lips, and he kissed me deeply and passionately. Nix, I love you so much. He placed my shirt back on me as he pulled his pants back up. He bent down and got my jeans. Here. He held them out for me to step into. I've heard it dressing to have sex, but dressing each other after, that's something new. I smirked as I placed my hands over his shoulders and stepped into my jeans. I bent down and picked up William's shirt and looked up at him as I buttoned his shirt. Will, I'm not a hit it and quit it type of guy. I'm going to always take care of you, my beautiful Nix. William picked up our underwear and his tie. He looked at the messes in his office and shrugged. I love you, William T. Spears. I stand on my tiptoes and kiss him lightly. He holds me against him, then he turns us to the door. Come with me, Nix. It's time. Let's get cleaned up at my place, he whispered into my ear, his breath tickling me as his tone made me shiver with want and anticipation. I smiled and nodded. Yes, let's. And with that, we made our way to his place for round 2. I should get in trouble with William more often if this is what I get as punishment. Okay. So yeah, that's the William and Reader Lemon. Alrighty. Peace out, Knights. Also, add any requests in the comments, and then I'm almost at 40, so as soon as I get up to 40 nights, then I will be doing a funny kind of, well, I found it funny, because, like, that awesome funny, I'm going to make a watermelon explode with rubber bands. Alrighty, peace out, Knights.